It's the Pop Culture Cave. Yes, it is. How you guys doing today? Welcome to the Pop Culture Cave. Hello, fellow young calves. My name is Tyler Babb. I am your host, and that is Chuck.
Hi,
Hello, Chuck. How you doing this morning?
I am doing phenomenal. I'm so excited to be back here today. Yesterday we got to do our maiden voyage on the Young Cavs channel.
Such a successful show.
Thank you. I mean, we had an absolute blast, as we often do when we do the show. But I mean, it was a different experience. Being on YouTube instead of Twitch, and I mean, I think it went really well. We had a lot of fun. A lot of people showed up. So yeah, I'm super excited. I'm happy to be here today.
Yeah, man. We got fun topics. We got Google Stadia. We're gonna be talking about Google Stadia. Is that coming back? Is that deceased, or what? What's the future of that? And then we also have something interesting that I found this week, which is how relevant are movies? Are movies even relevant moving forward into the future? With gaming is so popular and streaming, what we do on this channel, stuff like that. Obviously, I'm a big lover of movies. I make movies myself. But how relevant are the actual movies themselves, right? Going to the theater and watching a 2-hour movie that has had hundreds of millions of dollars poured into it. How relevant is that, and how sustainable is that moving forward in our culture? So those are the big two topics that we have today. I don't want to waste any time. Little update, I guess, on me. I working on my thesis. I sent these guys an image. We just did a test render of the alien that's going to be in our film. So it's exciting. I cannot wait to share the progress and all the stuff we're doing with that film with you guys very soon on the channel. And
It's good to see and hear about all the different things you're doing for this because I mean, like, I know there's a lot of work going into it. Oh, Zach. I hear all the work you're putting into this thing. I mean, it's a thesis film, so you know that like this is an example of what you can do. So it's gonna be awesome to see
Oh, yeah.
more details come out about this thing.
it's going to be spectacular. I have a lot of really great talent that I brought on, actors who are super passionate, and I think it's like one thing that you can never take for granted is the team that you have behind you, especially when you do something like this. This is a very ambitious thing. There's a lot of there's CG elements. There's a lot of things that go into it, and it's kind of my job to. And that's why we do all these test renders. Right now we're in the pre-production phase, so we're doing all these test renders because I need to be able to show people that I'm able to pull this stuff off at a pretty high level so that people can get excited about, so it's not just like, okay, we're making this student film, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, like this is, like I'm really pushing myself, and so everybody seems to be responding really well to the stuff I'm sending out, and we developed the story. We had a meeting with our actors, and Zach was there, and we have a production meeting this weekend, so it's gonna be awesome. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it sounds exciting.
How's everybody doing in the chat today? Hopefully everyone is having a great Friday. It is Friday, and also too, I get to go to lunch with my grandparents who I haven't seen in a long time. So I'm very excited. I get to do that today, so it's gonna be great.
It's nice to finally be able to do some of these things. Like we know how COVID has been dragging on for so long now. So I mean, being able to do anything mildly what seemed like what used to be normal is probably just an absolute treat. Oh, they're saying my volume is really low. Is that on my end, or?
No, that's what I was doing. You should be good now.
For sure, you should be good. Zach
Okay.
Zach came down to fix it.
Zach, you trooper, thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
Zach.
for that.
And
Yeah, I'm excited I'm excited about like your topic today because I hear about like it just in general, and it's like I didn't realize that was a concern. So that's gonna be a really fun discussion.
yeah, that's I always try to keep my my hand and my eyes on the pulse of where our industry's moving.
Speaking of keeping eyes and hands on the pulse, we're going to actually
Hi,
be
guys.
talking about hi Zach. We're actually going to be talking about Google Stadia's pulse today.
Yes,
Because,
let's get right into that, shall we? I'm
yeah.
excited. Like I said, one thing, I will switch, but one thing that I said, oh, he didn't move the thing. Where he moved it? sorry.
No worries.
Well, that should work. No? What's going on? You didn't have the mouse in the thingy. There we go. There we go. All right, we're good.
Oh yeah.
I got it.
Look at this. I love this. I love how you guys have the center image. It's so cool. All right, go ahead.
One thing that I enjoy about this show is I get to learn about gaming, and Chuck can learn a little bit more about movies, and that's what's so great about this show is we talk about movies and games on the Pulp Culture Cave. Pulp culture? I said that very British like. But anyways.
Hey, if we did it about like old comic books, we can call it the pulp culture or pulp culture
yeah,
cave.
The pulp culture
you know what I'm
cave.
saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, anyway, I absolutely love the show because of that as well. I get to learn more about movies and that kind of thing. And I mean, I know a lot about the game industry as is, you know. So hearing about the movie industry, especially with, you know, COVID and everything else that's been happening, it's the evolution of streaming services. So this goes for gaming and movies alike. You know, their pulses both seem similarly, you know, connected in their destinies in some way. At least how it is changing towards the future. So with Google Stadia, I don't know if you're aware of this, Zach, but there's been an ongoing lawsuit between Apple and Epic Games. Okay. Basically, you know, Epic Games, they're the people who do like Fortnite. They're running their own PC game store at this point. Now, that's not the topic I'm going to be covering today. We've heard a lot about them, and to be honest, maybe I'll bring it up like next weekend or something like that. But due to this lawsuit, many fun facts have been thrown all over the place. We learned about Walmart wants to start its own game streaming service. I mean, there's tons of things. Nintendo and all these different companies are scrambling right now to basically like block certain things from being entered into evidence because they're like, hey, that's a secret. You can't do that.
Whoa.
No. So we've been getting all sorts of really fun details, including some regarding Stadia. So basically, there's been a lot going on surrounding Stadia in general. A few months ago, we heard about them closing their first-party studios. And I mean, if you're going to be building a platform, a gaming platform, you know, to stream games through the internet to your phone, your PC, your TV, you know, all these things, all without a console. If you're going to be doing that, you need exclusives, you need first-party studios, and you need to produce content that people want. And that's why they come to you in the first place. A few months ago, they announced that they're closing all their internal development studios, and remaining staff will be reallocated to basically assisting third-party studios, you know, things like EA, you know, producing games, to make them work better on Stadia. And I mean, that's fine and all, but if I know anything about, you know, launching a platform, you need to have a reason for anyone to come to your platform.
Right.
Currently, they're banking on the fact that, you know, it's like, oh, you don't need a console, and you can play anywhere on your phone. And that is cool. If Microsoft wasn't already doing that, you know, with a tremendously successful Netflix style of games catalog that comes with it. Stadia doesn't come with that. Mm-hmm. Speaking towards that the Apple versus Epic court case, there was a lot of talk about Stadia because Epic Games they want to bring games to Stadia and that kind of thing, or Stadia wants Epic to bring their games there. Okay, and some of those details from those deals and stuff had to be brought into evidence. You know, things that we're not supposed to hear. But there was multiple times where some of the people were asked about Google Stadia. Okay. Asking different witnesses, you know, who are coming to respond in the court case. Where did I get this? I got this from GameIndustry.biz. Okay, where they were listing these different statistics coming out of here, and they said 2 times is the number of times attorneys had asked a witness if Stadia had been shut down.
Oh.
And they weren't sure. It says the number of times witnesses who were able to confidently say Stadia still exists was 0. I mean, it's funny that you'd see like things like witnesses coming to the Apple versus Epic lawsuit here, and them not having any clue if Stadia still exists. And this is for multiple reasons. Like I had said, you know, their internal development teams have all been shut down at this point and reallocated to assisting positions.
Yeah.
Which is scary if you're attempting to launch a platform. Not only this, okay, Jade Raymond, okay, one of their lead producers for Google Stadia has recently decided to leave because, well, there's many reasons. But anyway, she left and started a new studio called Haven Studios, which was immediately partnered with Sony to make games. So it's like you have talent leaving Google Stadia, getting a new studio. They're like, forget it. Okay. According to this, 6 developers from Google Stadia had also left with Jade to join and work with the new studio. And I mean,
yeah, of course she would attract people. She would take probably the best of the best, you know.
Yeah, and she's been a producer both at EA and Ubisoft, so she has a history in the industry. So she took some talent with her.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you see these kind of things happening, you know, the lead designer had also left Google Stadia at this point. Like there's the writing's been on the wall, but it's also been plastered all over the news too.
Yeah.
You know, media's got a hold of this thing. And that's been kind of the question. It's like, is Google Stadia going to keep existing? Tyler, what do you know about Google Stadia? Like, have you heard anything about this? Like,
no, I didn't even know this existed until you brought this up like a few weeks ago.
like, this is supposed to be.
I've never even seen
feature.
it.
That's
like
scarier.
I've never seen the logo. I've never seen. They don't. It doesn't seem in terms of just like it doesn't seem like they're putting their advertising budget into this.
Yeah.
This part of their company. Like I've never even seen this before.
And that's terrifying. I mean, we've talked about this before, where we were kind of talking about with Warner Brothers and that kind of thing, where it's like AT&T. It's like they're a phone company first,
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes their priorities don't exactly match the creative desires, you know, of any team that's working on, you know, an art medium. And we're looking at Google this time. Google is the same. You know, Google is an advertising search engine company, you know, and I know they do a lot of things, but they're kind of like Amazon in that sense. It's like the focus is not on games, and we know that. Google has this massive history of starting projects and killing them. Do you have any idea how many messaging apps and messaging services Google has launched and then killed? Like, I think you can count it on 2 hands at this point, and that's not normal for a company.
No, that's not very good.
No. So now this is where the actual story comes in. I just wanted to give you some background as to what's going on, you know, with Google Stadia. But okay, let's go ahead and get into this because GameIndustry.biz, okay, fantastic business end of you know, the game industry. It's like that's what they do. They do the business ends and stories about the game industry, and I absolutely love it. But they contacted Google Stadia representatives and they said, "Hey, what's going on?" Okay. So we did get some responses on this.
Oh.
And this comes from spokespersons from Google Stadia. They claim that they're alive and well, but we'll keep going with that. It says we're well on our way. And this is going to be Google Stadia attempting to, you know, they don't want to look like everything's shutting down. They don't want to look like everything is a big mess and a big failure.
Exactly.
You know, so they're trying their best. They're going to have to PR spin this. So let's go ahead and get into what they did say. It says, we're well on our way to over 100 new games launching on Stadia in 2021. And we're continuing to make Stadia a great place to play games on devices you already own. And yes, that does sound fantastic. And I am happy to see, it's like, you know what? I want to see this. I mean, too little too late, ? But I will keep going here. He continues and he says, I'll tell any non-believers to take notice of how we're continuing to put our words into action as we grow the Stadia Maker program, I assume getting other developers into it, and partner with AAA studios like Capcom, EA, Square Enix, Ubisoft, and others. Now, a lot of this is true. They are continuing to make their partnerships with other third-party studios and that kind of thing. Now, that does put you in a weird position in the game industry. You don't have your native first party because you shuttered them, okay? And, you know, you want to be a competing platform with places like, you know, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, all of which are going to refuse to put their stuff on your platform, okay? You're essentially a third-party vending machine, okay? And would be okay if you had a strong first-party presence, but you literally shut them down, which is just a terrifying direction.
Yeah.
And they did continue to say, they said, we're going to be focused on delivering value for our partners and on behalf of our players. Which is, they basically reaffirmed that they're going to continue supporting third-party studios to get them working great on Stadia.
Here's my question.
Go ahead.
Why should these studios, why do they care? What is Google offering these third-party studios? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And basically the only thing that you could really say is, number one, cash. Okay, some kind of cash deal. Sure. Google's got money. We know that.
Right.
Or, okay, you know what? It's another platform. We're going to take profit if we make sale. Just put it up there and we'll see, we'll make what we make. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right now, you've got two titanous juggernauts on PC in the PC market space. Okay, between Steam as a web store for buying games and the Epic Games Store for buying games. Well, Windows also has a store, and it's often you could compare it to Stadia's market share in the sense that it's like nobody's really buying games there, but the companies will put the game up on there anyway in case somebody wants to buy it.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm assuming there's some kind of cash deals for this, trying to get deals and that kind of thing.
Did you see what Mondu said in the chat? He said that Google offers them, what did he say? He said, offers them free doubt and regret.
Yeah, I mean, and this is one of those things where it's like, you know what? There were unique moments. There were unique moments, okay, where Google and their forward-thinking, futuristic approach at gaming did shine for a brief moment in time, okay? And I'm going to say that was when Cyberpunk 2077 released. Many of the consoles, so basically that game, it comes out, are you familiar with Cyberpunk and its beautiful launch?
It's failed launch. Yes, I do remember that. Yes.
Right, good. You caught my irony there, or my sarcasm. Basically, when it had launched, then last gen systems, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, massive market share. Those games launch, absolute disasters. They're unplayable, destructive messes, okay? Mm-hmm. They work okay on the Series X. They work okay on the current gen PlayStation 5. Not that anybody can get their hands on that system. Right. So you're kind of left with one option. Buy the absolute garbage fire version, or believe it or not, you could have bought it on Stadia, ran it day one, and it actually ran amazing. It was quite literally the best place to play Cyberpunk 2077.
How funny.
I should say, in addition to that, unless you had a powerhouse PC, which then it ran great there as well. But as for us console players, looking for the traditional console experience, the literal best option was the two next-gen systems you didn't own because you can't get your hands on it anyway, right. Or you could have bought it on Stadia. And, I don't want to do that. I know how bad of a failed platform that is, but at the same time, I'm also sitting there itching day one to play, mad hype Cyberpunk 2077. Right. So, I mean, it's interesting to see where their forward-thinking, futuristic approach at gaming could shine. I have played cloud gaming. I love it. But there's a massive issue when it comes to, I love the Google Stadia technology in playing games through the cloud. I've used it. I am a believer. It's amazing. I played it in the closed alpha, and it was like, wow, I am very impressed. But there's a massive, massive issue. They're competing with Xbox and Game Pass. And Game Pass does cloud streaming almost just as perfectly as Stadia does. Slightly less. I do admit, I think it's slightly worse than Stadia can pull it off.
Interesting.
But at the same time, it comes with Game Pass library. And that's something Stadia doesn't offer. It really did sound like it was going to be some kind of Netflix for games. And when they launched, they're like, no, you buy the individual games. And if you pay for pro membership, you'll get a game or two every month. And it's like, but Xbox Game Pass cost almost the same, and I can have cloud streaming and get a library of over like 300 games.
Yeah.
And it was bizarre and it was sad to see.
I don't know. It's got to be, I think it's got to be tough going into the gaming industry and building a whole new platform. I mean, that's when you have the giants,
Yeah.
And then we look at the giants in the industry, and they can't even seem to get their launches together. So,
Absolutely.
did we really expect Google to get it together?
That's the biggest thing is that and Google has a history of shuttering many different things. I mean, take your pick. I mean, I've used at least 2 of their messengers that I was like, oh, this is great, and they're like, oh, we're done with it. Go back to whatever base level messaging app that is installed on Android or whatever. It's like, I can't even. So I mean, like, I was a believer in, like, I tried it and stuff. Like, I tried Google Stadia. I was like, this functions. It works. I played it. It's real. But I mean, like we were saying earlier, it's like without first party, without a reason to come to the platform. And when Microsoft is sitting there right next to you, toting the same features, and it's like, why would I pick Stadia over that? So like, I can already play. I don't even need to own an Xbox. You can get Game Pass and you can stream to your phone and play games on your phone through the cloud.
Yeah.
Like you would want to use a Wi-Fi connection for sure. I wouldn't recommend mobile data, but at the same time, it's like I could do that. I don't even have to have an Xbox. Like Stadia, they're eating your pie, and you're watching them do it, and you sit there silent while we're just sitting there like, you gonna do something, or what you gonna do? What you gonna do about it? So I don't know. It's been fascinating to watch this thing rise and confusingly peter out, I guess.
I mean, do you think that they're going to push through and it's going to be something that's going to stay around, or give us your prediction, Chuck. Give us your prediction here.
I have an uglier view of this. So here goes. I think Google's going to stick to their word on this. They're going to keep doing it. But it's going to be a skeleton crew. And it's like, you purchased on this, no worries, we'll flip the servers on. We said we committed to this. We'll keep the servers on now. I think you're going to see, eventually here, you're going to see minimal support. And yes, you could buy your next Ubisoft game there, because Ubisoft's going to be like, whatever, just put the game up there. Who cares? There's like a few hundred people that'll pay for that. I mean, I'm worried we're looking at Skeleton Crew as this goes on. It's just going to kind of fade. It'll always be there, but it's going to fade, because they did say they committed to it. And I don't think they could back out at this point. But, I do have an optimistic future here. But this is something I kind of discussed a little bit recently. And this is the direction I believe that they have to take. I'm saying it to Apple. I'm saying it to Amazon. I'm saying it to Google. Okay? If you want to pretend that you're interested in the game industry, okay, you need to make first-party games, okay? Do that. Stop trying to be a new platform, because you are a phone company first, advertising giant, search engine first, and online shopping giant, with Amazon. Those are what you do first, okay? You want to do games, make yourself a first-party studio, okay? Sit down, make games, and publish them on the Xbox, publish them on the PlayStation, and publish them on the Switch and PC. That's how you get into this industry. Stop trying to, make your own platform. Everybody has failed at it miserably constantly. It's like trying to watch Sega rise from the ashes right now. We're going to launch our own system again and be a platform.
Is that
Don't
a thing?
do that. No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Sega was for years, and Sega had its position. They came out, the Sega Genesis, massively popular system, come out with the Sega Dreamcast, way ahead of its time, and they just couldn't handle the weight and pressure of the release of the PlayStation 2 comes out. It's like, we know the Titan juggernaut that thing became.
Did they have anything in the pipeline around that PlayStation 2 time, or no?
What do you mean for Sega?
Yeah, like were they releasing a new system or?
They released the Sega Dreamcast before the PlayStation 2, and this system it was amazing. It had online ability, online connective abilities,
Wow.
and all sorts of different features that uh, to this day that system it's impressive for when it was released. The GameCube came out, tremendous first party lineup from Nintendo. Nintendo was known
Yeah,
for the
that
first
was
party
the
IP.
GameCube was huge.
It was huge.
Yeah, I remember that.
But you know what was huger than that? The PlayStation 2. Okay, and
Yes.
even though the
I still
Dreamcast
have one in
came
my
out before,
closet.
yeah, I mean, even though the Dreamcast came out before, it was too expensive. It was amazing, amazing futuristic console. The things they were doing with it, it had some great games, but Sega was not in a position to. They didn't advertise it the right way. It was too expensive. The cheaper PlayStation 2 was coming out. Nintendo with their first party IP. I mean, that's just Sega. Sega faded, but they pivoted into a software studio. It's like, hey, they still had great IP, and they continue to release games to this day. And I think that's if Google wants in, just make games and sell them on the existing platforms. Okay, like
Yeah.
even as futuristic and cool as some of your stuff is, okay, you gotta keep the first party. And as soon as they shuttered the first party studios, okay, the ones that they were gonna make software for them, Google, okay, as soon as that happened, like, are we really gonna see them release on other platforms? They don't have first party studio creators anymore. Are they going to continue to support Stadia? Well, yeah, we're going to assist third party, which means Activision, Ubisoft, EA, and now you're limiting yourself to only third party games. So I don't know what they're doing. It's bleak future here. Unless they take my advice, make games for the other platforms, which would be bring back your first party studios. I doubt it. I think it's just going to be a skeleton crew. We'll leave the Switch on for you. Thanks for supporting us initially.
Thank you. Well, speaking of fizzling out, that transitions us into our next topic here, which is the obvious, not the obvious, but maybe the obvious if you're paying attention to the game and the film industry right now are in very similar spots where companies like Google is trying to grasp and stay alive. Well, so is Hollywood. So is, if you guys don't know, Hollywood had their Oscars last week. Or I think last week. The ratings for that were like crazy low. No one's watching the Oscars, guys. Nobody cares about the Oscars anymore. And Hollywood felt that. Let's just put it that way.
Why? Has
People
there
seem to
been a
be-
response to this?
Because people just the movie stars don't have the pull that they used to have even 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Like, I'm gonna be straight up honest. Stuff that we're doing here, what we're doing right now, this is where the attention is. This is where the momentum is. And I think it's a reaction of, like, can you join this channel, right? Yes, you can join this channel right now and you can support this content because it takes a lot for us to produce this content and come up with topics, and it's a show that we run and we try to do it the best we can. But hanging out with us for an hour, right? It's all about and as we get busier and busier, it's all about where people want to allocate their time. They can come here, hang out with us. They can learn new information. They can be educated to a certain extent, and it's relatively free. Unless you would like to join, you could do that. That'd be great. But we give this content to you for free, essentially. You could spend an hour with us, or you can give these movie stars and these Hollywood people, you can give them your money and be entertained for 2 hours, but not really walk away with anything meaningful. You know what I'm saying? And all that to basically say, how relevant are movies? And I mean movies in the sense of the 2 hour going to the movie theater experience movies, the big budget $200 million movies. How relevant is that experience and is that medium moving forward in the future? That's kind of what I wanted to bring up today because I think it's becoming less and less relevant. There was a study that was done a few weeks ago where they asked the younger generation, "What do you spend your time doing?" Like make a, on a list, what do you spend your time doing? The top two things were gaming and streaming and like YouTube. Spending time on YouTube, streaming something, watching streaming stuff, and gaming were the top three things. Movies, watching like movies or like a television series was number 5.
Wow.
So, yeah, that came to my attention this week, and I just was, I mean, I've been leaning this way, right? Like like I love to just make things. I'm a creator, I love to create entertainment. I love to entertain people. That's kind of my thing, with my skill level that I have. I would love to make movies. I would love to make 2-hour films, that entertain people and all this other stuff. I would love to work for these studios and make this stuff. But it's interesting how much in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, how much my focus is shifted to where I realize that that's not necessarily, it'll always be around, but it's definitely not going to have the power that it had once before. And it's just so interesting because currently right now I am in film school. And so I'm seeing this world where, and I love all the teachers that teach there, and they do the best they can, but I feel like they're 5 steps behind because we're not talking about how to set up your own YouTube channel. We're not talking about how to make your own content and be your own content creator. We're not talking about any of that in my school. And it's like, I think people may get the sense that, okay, I can graduate film school and then I can go make films. And it's like there are many other things out there than just film. You know what I'm saying? Than just movies. And
That's
yeah.
I mean, this is an absolutely fascinating thing to kind of learn about. I mean, like you were saying, okay, like you said, the movie stars, they don't have that kind of as much pull as they did. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday on the Gaming Twins show where we were talking about, Pokemon cards and that kind of thing. And Zach linked an article, and I was totally unaware of this because I'm like kind of like you, where I'm more of the creative. I'm not, we're artists, we like to create things to entertain people. And I don't really consume too much of the traditional nowadays art that I would argue is, YouTube and like influencers and TikTok. Okay.
Right.
Like I'm not huge in a lot of that stuff. I had no idea. Okay. Zach links me an article talking about how Logan Paul, back 2020, late in like September, bought a ton of Pokemon cards, like OG, like first edition Pokemon cards. It was like opening them. Okay. And that was right around when this giant Pokemon card craze started. Okay. And like, I don't know how TikTok and like influencers and YouTube stars, these people have so much weight compared to a lot of movie stars and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Like back when you and I were a little bit younger, like before this whole social media explosion, the movie stars and all that, they were the ones with all the weight. They were the famous ones. And now you're looking at things like TikTok stars and YouTube, and it's like these people have more clout than many actors at this point. And like you said, they did that poll where they were talking about, what are you guys spending your time on? And we I went over this, video games, okay, right now, they're the highest grossing art medium there is.
Yep.
Okay. And now you're, and on top of that, with so many kids and they're playing and, everybody's growing up with it. I mean, at this point, I'm 30 years old. Okay. It's normal for 30-year-old people to play video games.
Yeah.
We grew up with it, it's normal.
It's the normal thing to do now. Yeah.
Yeah. And, we know it's absolutely normal with kids. We're already aware of that mobile app explosion, all that. But like you were saying, in addition to all that, there's only so much time people have. And I like to ramble on many different topics.
Same here.
With the expansion of the smartphone, mobile apps, the introduction of that, and social media, all that combined, people's priorities have changed when it comes for entertainment. And I can tell you right now that I am struggling personally. We run an anime club in our Discord, which will soon be in the Young Cavs Discord, and I just can't commit the time to watching the anime. We're only doing the first 13 episodes. I just don't have the time for it. I'll sit down once a week with my wife, and we will sit down and we'll watch a movie together. And we're trying to do that like 3 times a week now. And, we're trying our best to kind of make that happen, but I just don't have that kind of time to commit. I can't allocate my time in that way. So I often opt for other entertainment. Yeah. I'll sit down and I'll play a video game. I'll sit down and I'll scroll through Twitter while I'm in bed and trying not to fall asleep, or trying to sleep. Make sure I burn my eyes out. Maybe that'll put me to sleep. And there's only so much time. People are shifting. Yeah. The huge push of COVID, the impact on the movie industry itself. They were literally told, shutter your doors.
Yep.
There's no movies anymore.
Oh yeah.
And it's like they wanted to continue producing, and we see the shift towards streaming.
Right. Well, exactly. I mean, that was the test bed of like, okay, in our world, in our current society, when things hit the fan, what's able to adapt and what's able to survive in our society?
Yeah.
What's really important to us? Did games go away? Nope. Did streaming and YouTube and all this stuff go away? Nope.
No, I think it grew.
Exactly. So, I mean, yeah, all you got to do is kind of take a step back out and see just how the world reacted to the situation we were in for an entire year. And I kind of knew that it was going to be as severe as it was. I remember a lot of people were, like, oh, hopefully, it only lasts a week. And I kept telling people, like, no, I think we're going to be in this for before I was like, okay, like maybe like the end of the year. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and 6 months or something.
As soon as it passed a month, I was like, no, we're probably going to be experiencing this for at least another year.
Like, it did continue to grow and like get worse and worse. And, the impact it had on all of these industries, so many industries, positive and negative, was huge. One thing I always said about, COVID, particularly when it comes to, gaming and particularly streaming and TV and movies, is that it forcefully pushed the industry forward in the direction that was pretty inevitable. Like we all assumed it would have been, slowly years down the line. So they talk about, digital purchasing all digital games over physical media, and that's been slowly going and shifting forward, and we watched that happen. COVID comes along when it comes to, the movie industry, and it's like, yeah, we know this is kind of happening with streaming services, but it'll be a few years down the line. We have time. Right. COVID happens, and it's like, nope, we're doing it now. And like you said, what adapts is what survives, and streaming services were kind of like, hey, you're stuck at home, and we're going to start publishing our movies on the streaming service, so hey, come on in.
Exactly. And I know, I talked a little bit about what we're doing on this channel, but because we have people like you and because we have people like me and Zach, like, we eventually want to grow this community and grow this channel to the point where we are making original content for our audience. That is something that we want to do. And we fully have the capability of doing that once we grow a little bit more and we can fund things. But we are very much, original series on this channel is something that I want to do.
Absolutely.
Being able to educate people in film is something that I want to do on this channel. Like I want to do. I have a lot of ideas, and I have a lot of things that definitely I want to grow on the channel. But yeah, it's a weird world we live in right now. So everybody just strap in. But also too, what I also noticed was with social media and video games and all this stuff and a lot of open source things, right, that you can get into, more and more people, I think, and I don't know why this is. Maybe I guess this is just the ease of use of technology, but it seems like more and more people are realizing how important creativity is to them. I think a lot of people kind of shut that side of themselves off, and they don't give it the time of day, or they, you know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, I'm too busy. But I feel like a lot of people got a lot of time on their hands, and so they were like, okay, what can I fill it with? And I feel like a lot of people learned a lot of new skills, and they had time to step back, and they didn't have the it's kind of wonderful in a way when you think about it. They didn't have to, they didn't have to go to the job. They didn't have to, they could take time. They could spend time with their families and the ones that you live with, right? You're the only people you live with. But I think it gives, and again, I understand that obviously people went through like terrible times.
Absolutely.
But it was all like you said before, you're an optimistic person, so am I, and I feel very warm and I feel very fuzzy when I think about all these people who were able to maybe find the thing that they love to do. Just like how I found I love to make films. I love to edit. I love to cut. I love to do all this stuff, and I've had that since I was a kid. So to hear these stories of these people who are like, I learned this new skill, and like I learned to play this instrument, and like I really got into this. It's like, that's cool, because I know that feeling. You know, I understand what that's like to have, and I know a lot of people who have told me what it's like to be too busy to not have that in their life. And so I'm excited. So everybody just keep pushing and find the thing you love to do, and make sure that you make time for yourself and the thing that you love to do, because it's very important.
I think that's one of the things, like, you know, you're talking about how, and we've you said it as well, where a lot of people, you know, we know COVID was difficult, and for many people, especially creatives, I'm going to tell you right now, it worked wonders on me. You know, it got me to quit my job, and I started doing this full time, and it's something I've absolutely loved and adored, and it pushed me further, you know, in my family, you know, to get or to work on other means of, you know, generating income and that kind of thing. And I think it's very interesting. It almost speaks to how our society is ran when we talk about this, and it's like, you know, it took COVID kind of to allow some of these people to be reminded of, you know, they might enjoy being creative. You know, they enjoy learning these new things, and it's something they've always wanted to do. But as busy as we are, you know, it's kind of an American way of life. You know, we're busy people. We like to be busy, and if you want to succeed, you better be busy. And depending on, like, if you're fortunate enough, you know, we're very fortunate to be able to even have time to do these shows.
Right.
A lot of people aren't. You know, they're stuck doing a job that they don't want to do because they got to pay their bills. And it's been interesting to watch that. And as bad as everything's been, it has been fascinating to watch people be able to enjoy themselves in ways that they couldn't before because of, you know, what's normal. So, but yeah, just fascinating topic. Thank you for bringing that up. Mandu kind of added something here. He said, my TV hasn't been hooked to an antenna for 5 years. And I could tell you, you know, I'm one of those people too who, I've never paid for cable TV or, you know, satellite TV. I've never paid for it.
Nope.
It's just, it doesn't hold that kind of value to me. And, you know, these streaming services, I tell you right now, I pay for a few of them. That's for sure. And I absolutely love the convenience. Yeah, I'm going to keep saying it.
I was talking to my mom last weekend, and I was in the basement talking to her at her house, and her TV wasn't working. And it just, like, and I had already been thinking about, you know, the movie thing and, like, the relevance, but it got me thinking, and I was like, well, like, what's the, like, for me personally, like, I watch a lot of stuff on my computer, and I watch a lot of stuff on my phone. And yes, I would love, like, a big 4K theater-esque setup for when I watch movies or, you know, stuff like that. But, like, a casual TV on a wall, I was like, I will probably never have one of those in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I will never buy one. Like mounting a TV to a wall and, like, casually having it on in the background. Like, I know that's something that my mom likes to do, and the generation, like, they like to have that playing in the background. that's not, at least for me, that's not what I do. And I don't know how our generation, it's so interesting because I think our generation is really pulling the society in this type of direction where you know it's so interesting, but it makes sense. Like how we grew up, you know what I'm saying? We saw the birth of the internet, and we were the first generation to grow up on the internet. So it only makes sense that we pull it into the streaming and that we pull it into the original content from original creators, basically the birth of what we're seeing right now. I think it only makes
it's
sense.
a beautiful time for us, particularly where
and
it's
that's
like,
why
we could do this.
Yeah, but looking at, and you know, I always think about like future generations and stuff, and I don't have a child, but if my kid came to me and said, I want to do YouTube, or you know, I want to be a streamer, or I want to be a gamer, I'd be like, let's do it. Like because I understand, and I'm able to step back and see that like what I enjoy. It's a bummer. Like I love going to the movies. I understand this, but I also realize like the world is changing very fast, and you need to, especially you know, with me, it's like you got to understand where your kids are sitting, what they're facing in the real world, but also to like what their possibilities are. Not what your possibilities were when you were a kid and when you grew up, but what is their possibilities now. And
You know, that's fascinating the way you're saying that, because it pulls it back to how you kind of initially started the topic, where you were talking about how you're going through film school right now. Okay. And they're not teaching you or preparing you for what you already know is the current reality. It's like YouTube and TikTok and Twitch and streaming and all these things. It's like, and even look towards like, I don't know. I mean, like, I agree. I think this is the future. You know, we're watching it happen. We're watching it unfold. Like you said, with the top 5, you know, it's like these things are at the top of their priority list and what they choose to do with their time. And when they're not teaching you that in school, it is a bit worrisome. You're teaching yourself. You're literally sitting in the front lines of the future of this.
Yeah.
Okay, you're in the best position you could be in. So it's just fascinating to see, you know, especially them teaching that. It's like, and we talk about movies and that and changing and adapting, you know, all these things, changing and adapting to survive. And it's interesting because I wonder how many of your classmates are getting taught what they need to do. Maybe they're doing the same thing you are right now and they're learning themselves, you know, and I hope they are, because it'll put them in a better position to be ready for, you know, the future that we already see unfolding. But yeah, it's just interesting. I worry about it. I hope.
definitely,
I know you're in a good position. So
No, well, one thing that I've always been like this. I've always been somebody who, because you know, I mean, they tell you from very early on. Even in my childhood, it was kind of, you know, people were just like, oh, like that's a fun dream, that's a fun hobby that you had, right?
Yep.
Like I heard that all the time.
absolutely.
And that used to irritate me because it was my passion. And so I learned very early on that I was like, one, no one's going to come knocking on your door for opportunities. Nobody's going to be like, here you go. Here's all the skills you need. Here's the opportunity. Here's the, you know, whatever. I don't live a crazy luxurious lifestyle. I don't care about that stuff. I care about making things. I care about creating things. And I just realized like no one's going to hand that to me. And I understood the importance of creating things for yourself. I think is definitely something that they're not teaching people at my school. And I, you know, there are some people who kind of feel cheated or whatever, right? They're like, oh, I spent all this money and, you know, I didn't learn this or I didn't learn that. And it's like, there's not an excuse for that anymore because there's so many out, you know what I'm saying? You can spend $70 and, you know, and learn a master class. Like they have the master class series, or there's sites like Skillshare where you can learn like, and personally, I'm in film school because I wanted the degree. I think it's super important. There are valid reasons to have that. I can't go work overseas without it. They need the proof that I'm educated and I have that status. I need that piece of paper to do the things that I want to do in the future, and things that I don't even know that I want to do in the future. I will need that piece of paper for. Did it cost money? Yes, it cost money. Did it put me in some debt? Yeah, it put me in some debt. But you know what? It's what I love. So like, it is what it is.
It's
And
important.
like I said, I just think it's important for people to, and they don't teach this, but you should be creating something for yourself, whether that's original content or a YouTube channel with streaming or game, whatever. But yeah, they're not teaching that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's incredibly important to make sure that, like you said, you're creating for yourself. When I was growing up, doing anything working for video
Can you hear me?
games, yeah, I hear you, but I don't. But you're not moving on the screen.
Okay, yeah, I froze. All right. Oh, I'm back.
Oh, there you are.
All right.
It was funny because you were froze frame, but I was still moving, and I was like, I assume everything's still going.
Yeah, I
But
think we're good.
I mean, when I was younger, I had that exact same thing, where it's like I wanted to make games when I was younger, or I wanted to work with games in some way, especially in the early 90s, it's like that's not real, is what you're told. You know what I mean? Like it's like
And it
nobody
wasn't.
does that.
In some ways, it was a pipe dream back then.
Yeah,
I understand
yeah.
where that thought process comes from, for sure.
Yeah, and one of my close friends, one of the things we did when we were growing up, we'd sit down and we'd watch some of the greatest movies, and we'd sit down and we'd try it. It's like, all right, we're gonna do a little fan film or whatever, and so I know what it's like being in that creative space and just doing that. That's what drove me here in the first place, just to creating online content, but also what drove me to the channel, is that you guys are definitely. You have the headspace that's required to push forward and grab your dreams because, like you said, no one's going to hand them to you.
No.
So it's a hard world out there. And, to be happy, especially as a creative and an artist, you got to create. You got to create what you want to create.
Yep.
So, it's important. Chase your dreams, guys.
But yeah, I think with that, I think we can wrap up. It's about that time. It's getting there. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the topics. We always have these. That's one thing I love about being on with Chuck is we always get super deep and some people enjoy that and some people don't like to get so deep. I understand that kind of talking the realities. We very much talked about the realities of the world today, and that can get a little scary, for sure.
Sometimes you got to be grounded. You know what I mean?
But also too, I think that's another thing, especially that you can get at the young Cavs is we can have fun, we can play games, we can stream games, we can talk game news, but we will always give you our opinion and let you know where the world and where the industries are shifting.
We'll invite you to the conversation.
Exactly.
And that's what I love doing. I love having these deep discussions on these topics because, this is our world. This is our reality. And we're all just trying to make sense of it sometimes. And, I think it's important to discuss these things and discuss them with, all people of all different mindsets and opinions on these things because we can all learn from each other. And, this is absolute blast. So thank you for having me on today. It's been wonderful. I'm really happy because I'll actually be on this show from now on. So just to let you guys know, in addition to all the different things that you're seeing on the YouTube channel, with the addition of the Gaming Twins shows and myself being on the Pop Culture Cave, the new Discord is coming, and I'm super excited. I'm really excited. We're going to be flipping the switch really soon. If you're already in the Discord, if you're in the Gaming Twins Discord, no worries. We will guide you on to how to get to the 2.0 server. If you're already in the Young Cav server, you're already in the right place. No worries. You'll be there when the switch does occur. I'm really excited. We got a lot of great things planned. I'm talking community events and all that.
Oh, yeah.
I think you guys are going to love it. So it's been great.
So thank you guys. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Allow yourself to be productive, be as productive as possible, but also make time for yourself, relax, hang out. It's very important. And
you're important.
You can join Chuck and Nick on their new show on the channel, the Gaming Twin Show, every Thursday at 5:30 or
Yes, 5:30 p.m. Central Time.
5:30 p.m. Central Time. The Gaming Twin Show, gaming news. Their energy is awesome. If you love Nick, go check that out. And then I have the rendered image that's going to be starting back up on Tuesdays. Right, like I said, we're in the thick of thesis, so it's kind of hard for me to do the show right now. But I will definitely be back again very soon with that show. And I'm always on this one, so I will always make this one. So, but all right.
Well, it's been great. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I saw we got 16 likes. Thank you guys. That's pretty awesome. That's incredible. Thank you so much. And yeah, with that being said, stay awesome.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Are we still live?